It's just my thing.
Toggle.
That's the way it goes. It's usually my fault.
It's usually your fault.
Yo, good day, and welcome to another episode of the RoadFS Podcast, where it is the one day every 4 years where husbands are right. It's the 29th of February. So, guys, load up.
We're right today.
You get the one day that you're right.
And I don't know where that rumor started because my wife disagrees with that already.
I know.
So
she's already, what do you mean? Just because we had a day in the year, it doesn't matter. So, but anyway, we're super excited to be here again.
And we are, and we're still Jody and Rod, just in case you wondered. Yeah. And we are here with Chris Landry. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. And how about yourself?
You know what? We're at that crazy time of year in Idaho where the weather can't make up its mind. It thinks it's winter, it thinks it's spring, and it's going to be like that till June.
Yeah, and I actually this year I got sick of it. I actually filed a lawsuit against the weather and said it's false advertising because it was 60 degrees last week and then it snowed the next day. So that should be illegal.
Yeah. So
right. Yeah, we're running into a little bit of a cold snap here in South Louisiana. Just overcast, and yesterday was 85. You had to wear shorts and short sleeves, and now here we are today. It's a bit chilly, kind of low 60s, but you see everybody in sweatpants and bundled up because it seems like it's 30 degrees outside.
Man, 85 to 60. I don't want that.
60, man.
Yeah, Jody and I went to one year. We went to Mobile Tech Expo, and it was like -9 in Boise, and it was like 60 in Florida, and everybody was in down jackets and freezing. We saw this woman sitting out having a cigarette in her down parka, just shivering, and Jody and I are in flip-flops and shorts going, are you freaking kidding? It's beautiful out here.
Right. And that's just how it is down here in the South. We get a small cold snap, the scarves are coming out, the Starbucks lines creating traffic for everybody. So,
well, this is super fun. So you and I have been talking via Facebook for a minute, and I wanted to get you on. So before we get into the main meat of today's topic, tell us how you got into the industry and what you've been doing to lead up to this point.
So back in 2014, really pushed me into the automotive industry of working inside of a body shop. Graduated high school in 2014 and wasn't a college. College wasn't on my schedule in the future, so I jumped straight into the body shop and started on the wash rack. So that's where I really started to learn about detailing cars, what products to use, the processes, and started using different chemicals and products along the way. Well, that's when I jumped into the body shop. After about 6 to 7 months on a wash rack, it was my time to shine inside of the paint shop. So I became an apprentice, started taping and taping cars, prepping them for collision repair. So that's when I really started to learn a little bit about clear coat and paint. And I was certified with Martin Senior Paint. Went through extensive training on polishing and sanding using rotary. We were old school with the DeWalt rotary, cutting and buffing and using your 2-step, 3-step process to get dirt nibs out. And that's when I kind of got into the industry. And man, I love doing this. I love making cars shine and look nice again. So fast forward to about 3 years ago, I really started to get into the industry. I left the automotive world, kind of started taking a little bit of health issues. I was 21, 22 years old, and I was blowing blood out of my nose every morning just because of the dust and the chemicals. Of course, I'm hard-headed. Proper PPE wasn't used at the time. So I wanted to get out of that and go into something else. So I got a job at Folgers Coffee. I was packaging Dunkin' can coffee for JM Smuckers. And I'm just not a person to sit in the chair for 12 hours straight. Came across a video on TikTok, which I can honestly say TikTok changed my entire life. I reached out to an individual who had a product like ours or like one of our products here on Black Rhino Shine. And the video was kind of intriguing. Hey, let me show you how to make $1,000 a day. Well, I think that entire night I watched his 150 videos 3 times over and over again. And I reached out, and 2 weeks later, I was in Ohio training with this gentleman. So fast forward to today, we changed a little bit of hands with different companies, but it all had its reasons. Here I am today with Black Rhino Shine car care products, and we're launching a new and approved hand applied clear coat for not only the wholesale side of things. We're going to start touching the retail side with this product. So that's where we are today.
Before you go too deep in it, because you're starting to go, right? I got something
Yes,
a little
sir.
prepared.
What
So
do we got?
I want to prime the pump a little bit. So Chris sent me over this little video, so I thought I'd whet you guys' appetite because this vehicle looks really wet. Yo, all right. So let's talk about what you're doing, man.
So what we have going on here in that video, that is going to be our new formula of Speed Clear, which we're going to call Speed Clear Pro. That is going to be a colorless hand applied clear coat that self levels. It corrects the minimal scratches on side of the surface of vehicles, any type of painted surfaces that has marring, light swirls, light scratches, the whole 9 yards. This is what we're correcting that appearance with. Not only are we correcting it, we're getting a protective style coating out of this as well. It's going to be scratch resistant, something that can be wet sanded and polished if you do pass through a road that has limbs and it just scratches the side of your car. You're scratching the coating and not necessarily your OEM paint. So we're getting anywhere between about 0.75 to 1.5 mils thick coating on top of your OEM clear coat.
Is that a single application, or is that a double application?
I'm sorry.
Is that a single application that you're getting?
Single application.
Okay.
It all depends on how saturated your applicator is. And
sure, yeah. No, I was talking more of a process thing. So yeah, if you,
it's like, let's saturate that thing.
Right,
you just dump it on and then you just run it.
Now, it's funny you say that. When we're working on larger panels, I have the bottle in my hand at all times, and my applicator's in my right hand, and I'm just piling it on the hood, and I'm picking it up as I go. That's keeping the applicator on the hood, and you're keeping your motion consistent across the entire panel. So you want it to even out very thoroughly across the entire panel, and it will self-level.
So is it an application where you need to go get certified by Rhino,
no.
or is it?
We're not going to have any type of certifications with this. That's where we're going to be a little bit different than some of these coating companies out there. We've all heard of RestoreFX, Xcoat, Icon, Rock Clear. I absolutely love those companies. I've talked to every single one of them. No bad blood whatsoever. I like keeping the industry moving and helping out one another. So those companies, unfortunately, they offer warranties. We're not going to have a manufacturer warranty because we don't know if Joe Smith down the street is going to buy the product and manipulate the process and then come back on us saying that the coating failed. Well, you may have missed the process of wiping down with lacquer thinner. You might have used a denatured alcohol, or you didn't clay bar the surface before you started a one-step polish. There's different steps of quality that you're going to get out of this coating. Of course, if you want the highest step, you're going to go through the most extensive prep to get to that quality of coating. Now, what I like to bring to my dealerships, which I use Speed Clear, the current version, I just wipe down a panel with denatured alcohol or a wax and grease remover. Very seldomly will I break out a clay bar, I'm only getting paid $125 per car to coat the entire thing, bumper to bumper, any panel that's needed. So if there's scratches on the front bumper, I'm just coating that front bumper, possibly go into that fender. That's going to be a 70 to 80% better appearance. If we jump into coating that TRX, for instance, that was about a 2 to 3 hour prep process. We taped off all your rubber moldings and mirrors. We went through a one-step paint correction or one-step polish beforehand, decontaminating the entire paint in the surface, taking off that top layer, opening up the pores for Speed Clear Pro to seep into those pores. It is chemically bonded to the OEM clear coat. So once it cures, that's where we're getting our bonding strength from. Chemical bonding, kind of in a sense of refinishing a bumper or blending a bumper. A lot of people use acetone, lacquer thinner, medium reducer. What that does is soften the OEM clear coat and allows the new clear coat to bond to the old stuff. That's essentially where we're getting our chemical bonds from.
So how long is the cure time on it?
So a cure time, of course, indoors is what we highly recommending. We're going to see anywhere between 12 to 24 hours. It will be okay to be driven outside. But we really want to start to focus on following the procedures from the restoration world and I lost a word on this one. Back to OEM clear coat or spraying a clear coat. We want to let it sit and cure for 30 days before we put any type of topper on it. That's a minimum time frame to let true clear coat cure. That's what we want to recommend. But I think we're going to go into that 45 to 60 day mark before we can actually put a ceramic coating over the top of this. This is something that we will be able to add a protection on top of to get a little bit more longevity out of the product as well.
Okay, and so you might have mentioned this earlier. You kind of hit on it, but this can be if someone wanted to polish over the top of this, you're just polishing the Speed Clear Pro. You're not burning it off unless you're like sanding it down or anything.
Correct. I actually just did a test this morning. Probably it would take about 2 to 3 minutes, high-speed rotary. I use 3M rocks in a bottles to really dig down and try to get this stuff off and burn it. It took me about 2 to 3 minutes on, I'm going to say 4 or 5, just digging down on an angle before I really started to burn through Speed Clear Pro. The only way to get this stuff off, if it's not 100%, is in a 5 to 7 minute window. You can actually strip this off with lacquer thinner inside of your application. But if it dries and it's cure and it's sitting outside because you want to see if it's just going to level out in the next 24 to 48 hours, you might as well break out the sandpaper because this stuff is not coming off easily, which is scary.
Yeah, but that's also what you're trying to do. But we can definitely tell you're from a body shop because you're talking about turning and burning on 5 for 2 minutes and using rocks in a bottle, because that's what you do in a body shop is you just cut it and go. And by the way, I haven't even touched on the fact that he graduated from high school while we were still in business. And you say you're old school, come on, man. I got a Black & Decker rotary from like 1984.
I was cleaning out the garage this weekend and pulled out my dad's Black & Decker rotary. And I'm like, all right, it's going into the junk.
Oh man, I got mine hanging on the I got what I call the wall of shame. And there's the Black & Decker rotary. And man,
I still had the little
tie-on wool pad you tied it on. You didn't even Velcro it on. And yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, yeah, the early technology on pads, it was more like a bag. It had like a canvas around the outside, and you put it over the top of the backing plate, and then you pulled the tabs and tied it on.
Wow,
there was no Velcro.
Things have definitely changed in the industry over the years.
Yeah, brought it in.
We still used rocks in a bottle though, because that's all you pretty much had was Meguiar's. But so that I think a lot of people do that. A lot of innovation comes from people that were in the industry in a different realm, if you will. I've heard people talk about stuff like this for years. People have been talking about re-clearing stuff. I've done it. Years and years ago, I had a car that was, the clear coat was failing. There was nothing like this on the market. So I just very carefully feathered the edges where the clear coat was failing and then re-cleared the car.
Right.
I could tell, but this was a long process compared to something like this. So your typical application in your testing, and the testing is Speed Clear and Speed Clear Pro, what are you guys getting as far as the life in the product?
So what we're seeing currently with the current version of Speed Clear, that is a 1K style product. It has an amber color. It has high polymer resins built into the formula, excuse me. We're seeing anywhere between 1 to 2 years real world testing out of that. What we're going to see as it starts to fail over time, and when I say fail, it's just going to deteriorate just like any other product out there. We're not seeing delamination or anything. We're just seeing a little bit of deterioration where we start to see haze, loss of gloss. What you can do with the current Speed Clear is take lacquer thinner, acetone, medium reducer, which I like to use a lot of reducer because we're cutting our current Speed Clear today at a 60-40 ratio to get the working time that we need in the sun. With a slow reducer or medium reducer, as reducers temperature driven. As the solvents start to evaporate in the summertime, you want them to evaporate a lot slower so you can get that working time. And of course, in the cold winter days, you're going to use fast so it evaporates and you don't run into any issues.
So there's a question up there. Somebody asked, where was the testing done? Which state?
So that most of this testing is done in Louisiana. We're running anywhere between, I would say 90% humidity in the summertime plus. And we're saying, again, this weather's bipolar down here today. It's nasty, kind of muggy, overcast, mid 60 degrees. And tomorrow we're going to have probably 92 degrees with 82% humidity. So it fluctuates a lot.
And again, you've revealed that you're from a body shop because you like reducer. And I know what it is. You just like the smell of it.
You're right.
You used to bathe in reducer, man. You wash your hands in it, clean your glasses. But yeah, so those of you that have not come from body shop, reducer, you can use it with things like IGL Aegis for rust remediation and stuff. But it just thins out your product. But reducer comes in a fast, slow, or it's a fast, slow, and medium, right? Fast, medium, and slow. And it's based on all of the ambient temperature, and it's the off gassing and how fast it comes off. And so, as Chris has stated, you got to have the reducer for the type of environment you're in. If you're in high humidity, do not get a fast reducer because you won't even get it on the rag before that stuff wears off.
Exactly. Now, some reducers, when I was with Martin Senor, we had a tropical blend. So it was meant for moisture. It was meant for moisture areas with a lot of humidity, allowing that clear coat and the base coat to actually flash. But going back to Speed Clear's Pro longevity, we are doing extensive testing real world right now, and we're trying to get accelerated testing taken care of and scheduled. But we're expecting to see anywhere between 3 to 5 years is what I'm looking to really get out of the product. But I don't see us going anything less than 5 years. Now, of course, I'm not a chemist. I'm not one of those fluorescent chambers. I'm not a real test person, but just based off of what I see and the longevity out of seeing in a body shop and these clear coats bonding really well to the surface, I see this surpassing 5+ years longevity, which at that point we can offer that to the retail market. And as it starts to deteriorate, we can always do a reapplication over the top.
So let's see. Wasim's got a different question. So comparing to Chicago, Michigan, Ohio, how long do the last hold up? Well, you guys don't have as high a humidity as they do down in Louisiana.
No, but they got
harsh winters.
And they got all the salt and the
yeah,
stuff on the road.
That's going to be a different one. That's a good question, Chris. Have you guys put it through like salt spray tests or anything?
So we have not currently. I see a lot of people up north. We have this in, I can't even imagine on how many hands we actually have the current Speed Clear in today. But as far as we know, we are doing pre-orders with Speed Clear Pro. And we've already seen anywhere between 70 to 80 people possibly ordering a bottle of Speed Clear Pro. And over the last over the last year, coming up in June, I can't tell you how many bottles we've sold of the current Speed Clear. I haven't seen any issues with a gentleman of mine in Kansas City. I have it being used in northern New Jersey, Ohio, East and West Coast. It's all over the place.
Yeah, we're seeing that Ohio
1 to 2 years longevity. Now, when it comes down to this Speed Clear Pro, I don't see it failing whatsoever. You're going to actually have to take off the base coat, OEM clear coat, and Speed Clear's coming with it because it's bonding to that OEM clear coat.
Yeah, so when you use a reducer or a lacquer thinner, as Chris is saying, you're actually softening the material, you're opening it up. That's one of the disadvantages of using reducers, because you can actually remove product. You can remove some of the clear coat or base coat if you're doing it on a single stage. I would love to see, obviously, people don't have enough time for us to do this currently, they have to wait, but I'm actually going to cut a hood. I'm going to take a hood and put stripes in it and put different products on it. Because in Idaho, we get extremes. We get below 0 and then we get above 100. So it's real extremes. And I've done this before with other materials where I'll just take it. I literally just set it at the side of my shop and to see what kind of, in my case, real world, effect I get on it. I've done this with bed liners. I've done it with some of those kind of products. But this would be a really good test is to do that. But it sounds like you've got somebody in Ohio. Wasim, if you're seeing the scroll on the bottom, we've got Chris's information on there. You can contact him afterwards.
What we're actually going to start doing soon, which we are currently doing it. I had one last month. We are doing training classes. So if you're looking to get into the industry, and of course, I like to train people on how to build a business off of this. I had a gentleman of mine in Mississippi that's currently using Speed Clear version today. And just last year for scratch repair as a vendor inside of dealerships, he just made right over $320,000 just last year. So I do mentoring on how to start a business with it. Yeah. We do training classes. We have one coming up in March, the 13th and 14th with Billy Smith in Akron, Ohio.
Oh yeah, don't go with that guy. I'm kidding. Love Billy Smith, and he's actually got a really good business. That would be a perfect one. I was going to say when you mentioned Ohio, if you haven't gotten a hold of Billy Smith, he's not just a nice person. His whole family, his daughter works with him. Billy Smith's a really good guy. So.
Yes, he's a great mentor of mine. I talk to him probably every 2 days. It really started last year at Mobile Tech Expo when I ran into Billy. He came and shook my hand. He was watching all my success on Facebook and TikTok. Well, him and I kind of linked up at Mobile Tech Expo. We shook hands, and then we stayed in contact ever since. I was working with Touch Up RX at the time. Went out to Billy Smith's shop with Touch Up RX and an Onyx training for Touch Up on chips. I've been with Billy again over at Mobile Tech Expo this year. Didn't have a booth, but I like the aspect of walking around because having a booth last year was pretty intensive. It was the same story over and over and over again. I was having fun walking around this year. I had my Speed Clear shirt on, and we ran into a traffic area, and the guy's like, And I was trying to apologize because we were face to face, and he's like, man, I actually use your product. And it's like, man, we just started a conversation right there. So I thought that was pretty neat. But we're going to be having that training class in Akron on March 12th. I'm sorry, 13th and 14th. And we have another one here at my shop in Chalmette, April 3rd and 4th in April. So we're going to do training courses with Speed Clear Pro, show some of the guys who are there just to see the current version of Speed Clear, who's not necessarily going to need Speed Clear Pro inside of the reconditioning world, inside of dealerships. They're just looking for something that's going to last 3 to 6 months. They want it out of their hands. And of course, that's what Speed Clear is, the current version. And then we also have a wipe-on clear coat that fills scratches, and you level off the excess, and it just leaves a little bit of polymer inside of that scratch. That product there is 8 ounces, and I can honestly show somebody how to make $10,000 with a $75 bottle of product.
Right, and people,
it's awesome.
This is one of those things where detailers have to, we have to put aside our ego of trying to make something perfect. And the reason why is because in the dealership world, which a lot of people don't understand how much money you can make in the dealership world, but in the dealership world, like you said, they're worried about just getting it out the door, and they can enhance the value of that car for very little, and you can do it for very little labor. So it's a win for everybody. It's a product that's going to be on the vehicle and look good. We've been doing this for 15 years. But prior to that, I was in the automotive industry, working in shops, doing restoration, repairs, paint work and stuff. And it is unbelievable how fast you can do things now compared to back in the day, where it took us days and days and days to make a car look good, going through the process of using, rotary wool pad, then a second polish, and then trying to get all the haze out of it because it was black and somebody painted it like crap. And, nowadays you can really do stuff fast. And that's the idea, is to get it in, get it out, and have something in your toolbox that isn't going to replace everything. This isn't going to say that we're going to throw away the polisher. This is saying in the right application, this is the tool to use to enhance somebody's car, make it look good, get it out the door, and get some protection on it.
Correct. And that's where we're going to kind of really start to push Speed Clear's current version into the wholesale market. This is just a quick little visual of the Speed Clear Pro. We're in that colorless family. What we're going to do is we're going to call this a hybrid. You don't need an activator for this stuff to dry. As long as you have air movement going across the top, it's going to take a lot longer to get it to cure and set up, but it will dry over time without an activator. We do have an activator. It's called Speed Shot. So we take an 8-ounce bottle, and we're putting anywhere between a half an ounce to an ounce. We're still toying with the mixture on the activator currently to see if it's going to affect your application method, if it's going to affect the working time in the sun, possibly on a lot. If you want to break out Speed Clear Pro just because that's what you have, we want to make sure that it's not going to set up fast enough and it's going to flash where you still have streak marks. Because what we like to use currently, and we're testing different applicators, I use Bounty paper towels to apply this stuff.
Whoa, no way.
Yes, Bounty paper towels, and I love the Home Depot brand HDX towels just because we can saturate the towel and it holds a lot of product, but the difference is between a microfiber applicator or anything along those lines, this stuff is super thick. It's not a high solvent like a ceramic coating. We need it to float out of that towel back onto the panel. A microfiber, if you don't saturate it enough, it's not going to flow off into the panel. Well, if you take a full microfiber rag and you saturate it too much, you just wasted 2 ounces of product just trying to saturate that applicator. Wow. With a paper towel, it's only allowing anywhere between a a half an ounce to an ounce to saturate it, and 90% of that product is going back onto the panel. So
okay,
that's what we're getting the best appearance with, and that's what's self-leveling the best moving forward today. So again, back to working outdoors, we want to make sure that our mixture of Speed Clear Pro and Speed Shot, we're not getting it to tack up or flash fast in enough time to where it will self-level and give you the appearance that you're looking for.
right.
So are you're just applying it and then letting it self-level. You're not coming back and wiping it off at all?
No, sir. This is a self-leveling hand-applied clear coat. So of course you want to be done. You want to do this in a climate-controlled area where you have the working time that you need. But I manipulate the process every day. I've helped gain anywhere between 300 to 350 stores over the last 2 years nationwide in 45 different cities across the United States. And everything's done outdoors on the dealerships. But bringing this product, I'm not comparing this to Icon Rock Clear. A lot of people are going to, oh, well, Icon Rock Clear or Restore FX. I'm not comparing myself to those guys. But those are the only products that I can compare Speed Clear Pro to. There's nothing out there like it besides those companies. And to get the best appearance and get the best quality, we want to do it inside and indoors, climate-controlled area, dust-free rooms, kind of like a ceramic coating or a PPF room. You want it real nice and clean. That way you don't get any trash or bugs or anything flying in. This stuff will flash in about 20 minutes to the touch. You don't want to put a lot of force on it because you will put a fingerprint in it. But you can pull it outside in about 2 to 3 hours and let that sun bake it on. Bringing it back to the body shop world. I know some body shops that use hand-applied clear coats today. Yep. Just on that adjacent panel where they may not have to blend into that back door or into that quarter, but the difference in the sheen, because there's a lot of surface scratches and swirls on the rear door of a minivan and a quarter panel, and you're painting a maroon van, that front door to the rear door is going to look night and day. The quickest way to better that appearance is possibly using a hand-applied clear coat, or you can spend 2 to 3 hours polishing it out, and then you're possibly risking burning it, leaving swirl marks behind. So given the best appearance in that 95 to 97 percentile with hand-applied clear coat, it's a no-brainer. That should take you 35 to 40 minutes just to get a better appearance.
So if you wanted to do a thicker application, you wanted to do 2, would you wait till it flashes at 30 minutes or so and then do the second coat, or you do it immediately after?
So what we're seeing with that is we want to get probably a 12 to 24 hour flash or cure before we reapply, just because it's still saturated underneath the skin layer. And if you go to wash it in, you're going to reactivate that top layer. All these solvents built into these products, just like an acetone or a lacquer thinner, you're loosening OEM paint. We're loosening up, and we're going to clog our applicator, and then we're going to have nothing but problems. So we want it to really dry. IR lights are not going to help this. This is more of an oxygen based product, air movement, heat. Right. That's what's going to help cure this product. We have to cure it from the outside in. The IR lights are really based on more of a primer or something along those lines. But we're taking the body shop industry, bringing it to the detail world to get that better appearance. Because even going back to the cars that can't take a polisher, you may have something that's flaking clear coat. What we can do is flake those edges off, wet sand that edge, and go right over the top.
That was going to be my question, because I'm thinking about my son's Audi, and
Oh,
the
yeah, for sure.
back end of that, I'm like, this could be a perfect application.
Yeah,
for that.
and that's like I said earlier in my life, I've done that before, and that's a long process compared to what you'd need to do. You need to make sure you get all the clear coat that's failing completely off, and you can use air for that. You can use a pinpoint air blower and blow it off, or you can use, like I said, you can do the sanding if you're very careful. If you sand through the base, then you're done. But
exactly.
but this is a great alternative to having to redo an entire car, because you've got, the hood, the roof, and the trunk are peeling off.
Correct. And bringing it into the detail world, a small example, a front bumper that has a lot of bug etching, a lot of micro chips and stuff along those lines, we can tape off those headlights and the grill and go ahead and re-clear coat that entire front bumper. You can lightly sand to get a little bit better bond, but I don't recommend that. I don't want somebody to follow my process and sand it this way, and they don't have the experience of sanding something, and they may burn through the clear coat and the base coat. Next thing you know, they have a little black line on the plastic front bumper. So, but you can lightly sand and scuff something down and put this over the top. You're going to get a much stronger bond with that.
What do you use just as a for my edification, not for anybody else, but what do you use for sandpaper, a grit of sandpaper before you put this on?
I would personally probably hit it with 1,000 or 1,500 grit, wet or dry, even a gray scuff pad. I love gray scuff pads. That's close to, I'm gonna say 600 to 1,000 grit.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
like,
that's a 600, because I've done it with. But again, if you are not experienced sanding, do not try this at home. But you can take a 600 grit and sand something down and re-clear it or repaint it, because 600 is about what the bonding is from primer to paint. But 1,500 is because you're etching it enough to get a better bond. You're still going to wipe it down with some kind of reducer or something to soften that up. But the additional sanding would give you more of a bond. But again, that's in an application like your son's Audi. I would probably sand it. I would not just where it's flaking off. We'd sand and feather the edges off. So anyway, take a sanding class before you try any of that, or buy a junk hook,
or grab rod, and
you're gonna burn right through it. It's sandpaper. Wow, that's really soft. Nope, it's not. You're gonna burn through, and you're talking about 1 or 2 mils, and then that's all it takes just to burn through that. So
exactly, and of course on a 2012 Camry that's beige and it's just baking in the sun because Grandma parks just the front quarter panel out, or the front cap out from underneath the carport at all times. That UV just ate through 90% of that clear coat. So the second you hit it with 800 to 1,000 grit, it's more than likely going to burn through.
Yeah, I actually had a guy talk to me yesterday from a dealership that was working on a Bentley, and they were talking about redoing the clear and sand, and I was like, you better be careful, because you're not talking about Grandma's Civic. You're talking about a Bentley, dude. Exactly. And it was ugly. It was all kinds of messed up. But this is a perfect application for that, because even though it's a Bentley, it's at a dealership, and they're still just as tight as the dealership that's selling Grandma's Civic. They just want the turn and burn. You obviously can upsell a Bentley dealership over a Honda dealership, but it's same process. It's going to look good. You're going to wipe it on. It's going to self-level, and away you go.
That's it. And I'm getting ready to bring my current version of Speed Clear into one of my dealerships with scratch repair. I just gained a dealership last week. We're doing anywhere between 80 to 100 cars a month through detail department. And we're charging them, or they actually came to us with a $200 price mark. But they're not happy with their touch-up guy and their scratch repair guy. Well, I'm bringing my scratch repair service through detail, and we're going to charge them $325 to $385 per unit moving forward. That's inside out with scratch repair. Also do headlight restoration. This can be used as a headlight restoration. If we wet sand and polish the headlights, this will bind to the polycarbonate coating that's on headlights today. The biggest thing is these products are high solvent, so if you don't hit it correctly, you will run into melting or cracking that coating that comes from the factory on headlights. I've ran into it. I use it all the time where I'll grab medium reducer and I wipe the yellow haze off with medium reducer, and then I go straight into coating it with speed clear. But I have ran into melting lenses and melting that polycarbonate over the top. And next thing you know, I have to break out the sandpaper and break out the 2K can clear and go the old fashioned route. But this is a quick way to do headlight restoration as well.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, man, that's been quite the dump of information in the last 35 minutes. So appreciate you taking the time to.
No problem. And I greatly appreciate you guys having me on.
So give us, let's put this. Yeah, there we go. You can go back up to BlackRhinoShine.com.
BlackRhinoShine.com.
Get a hold of Chris that way. If you can't get a hold of Black Rhino Shine, you definitely can get a hold of us. Go out and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can keep doing this. And then if you guys out there that are watching this, or somebody that would make a good guest to come on here, or you specifically want to see a product or a service or a person or a topic, just let us know. Send us a note and we will get somebody on.
Yeah, and on that note, so I've been talking to Josh Hernandez this morning. As you guys know, the Aviation Detailing Association is kicking off with, they're going moving crazy fast and strong. So we're going to have him online next week. So it's going to be a great discussion. And then the following week, we are going to be on the road. Carlos Galan is hosting a Detailers of the Roundtable event in Oregon. In Oregon, then we'll be hopping on a plane and going to see the PDP products, folks.
Yep.
So you're going to be getting a lot of product information and exposure to great companies, great people like Chris. So thank you so much for tapping in with us, Chris. And we will check you guys next week.
Yep. Thanks, Chris.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a good day.
Thanks, brother.
Bye-bye.